بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن ما كانوا يعملون صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, we're continuing with the tafsir of Surah Nahl. And as we were discussing previously, Allah Azza wa Jal is mentioning in the surah and discussing His bounties. And one of the names of this surah is Surah Ni'am, which means the surah that discusses the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after mentioning many of His bounties, which is a means of attaining Allah's recognition and a means of attaining Allah Ta'ala's closeness, because when a person thinks about bounties, one thing that it does when you think about the gifts that Allah has given you, one of the things that it shows the qudrat of Allah and the power of Allah. And then the second thing is that it increases a person's iman and it makes a person become closer to Allah. So in regards to the bounties, there are those who are grateful for Allah's bounties. They believe in Allah Ta'ala's bounties, and that becomes a means of them becoming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are others who they reject Allah's bounties and they deny Allah Ta'ala's bounties. So these are the two groups which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is discussing. For those who acknowledge those bounties and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah has rewarded them and Allah has promised them a great reward. And those people who deny them and reject them, then Allah ta'ala has for them a punishment. We also mentioned last week that this surah is a Makki surah. The Makki surahs, they address the believers who are going through struggles. Sometimes we think like, in my life, I'm the only one who is going through all of these struggles. I'm drowning. I can't keep my head above water. Whereas in reality, the Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu anhum, the circumstances in which the believers practice their deen and the circumstances in which the Sahaba practice their religion is much, much worse than our circumstances. Sometimes we victimize. Oh my God, I'm like this and I'm like that, and my condition is like this, and nobody knows what I'm going through. And no, bro, it's really not that bad. Trust me, it's not that bad. Read the lives of the Sahaba and read the lives of the Anbiya, and you will know that it is not bad. And one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us the stories of the Anbiya and the stories of the previous ummahs is to give a consolement for the messenger that, O Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you are not the only one who is going through this rejection. You are not the only one who is going through these circumstances. You are not the only one who is going through this persecution. You are not the only one who is going through this rejection from your people. Look at Musa alayhi salam. What were the trials and tribulations that he went through? وَفَتَنَّاهُ فُتُونًا. Look at the tremendous fitnas and tribulations that Moses had to go through. Look at Salih alayhi salam. Look at Hud alayhi salam. Entire surahs were revealed. Look at Yusuf alayhi salam. Entire surah of Yusuf alayhi salam was revealed to show what were the entire life of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was a struggle from beginning to end. The entire life of Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, 950 years, right? He went through struggle. Imagine, why is all of this mentioned in the Quran? This is called tasliyah. It's a consolation to console the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam that, hey, what you are going through, the messengers before you went through maybe even more severe tests than this. And that is why in the previous, I'm just wrapping it up of what we spoke about in the previous lesson, in the previous ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the fulfillment of the covenant. That we should fulfill our oath to Allah. Fulfill our promise to Allah. And Allah ta'ala says, وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَاهَدْتُمْ. Understand that your faith is not something you do as a hobby. When you feel like it, you do it, and when you don't feel like it, you don't do it. When you feel good, then everything is nice and going perfect in your life, then you practice religion and you pray namaz. Hey, you know what? This is not a hobby. This is ahdillah. This is a promise and a covenant to your Lord. Your religion is not something of your personal opinion or your personal affair or your emotional, whatever your well-being is at that particular moment. Then whatever is my emotional state at that particular moment, then that is my religion. Right? That is a very, this westernized understanding that my emotion dictates my religion. Whereas emotion has nothing to do with the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing. Whether you feel happy or sad, God doesn't care about that. Whether you're happy or sad, what you feel about Allah Ta'ala's commandments, and what your emotion you're going through, that's not Allah Ta'ala's concern, because emotion is something that a person should have control over. It shouldn't be something that controls you. The commandment of Allah should be above your emotion. Right now, you become angry. You want to do road rage. You want to run a person over, right? Will you allow your emotion to be above the law? Does your emotion dictate the law? It doesn't. So from this we understand that if your emotion, right, it's not above the man-made law, how can your emotion be above God's law? I don't feel like praying. I don't feel like fasting in the month of Ramadan. Your feeling has nothing to do with it, right? I don't feel like obeying the law today, so I'm just going to run red lights all day. I'm just going to run all the red lights. I'm just going to run all the stop signs today. I'm not going to go to work today. I'm not going to go to school today. You don't allow your emotion to control you. You have your aql, your intellect, and this is the way that a normal human being is my intellect is subservient, my emotion is subservient to my intellect. And my intellect is subservient to the law. Is this correct? This is what we call sanity. This is what we call normal human being. My emotion is subservient to what? My aql, my intellect. I don't allow my emotion to override my intellect and make me go crazy. My emotion is I get road rage. Somebody didn't see me, so they cut me off on the freeway. So I get road rage. So now what do? I go crazy and I start doing things that doesn't make sense according to intellect. I run a red light. I go and try to yell. I'm cutting off. I'm going past the speed limit. I'm putting people in danger. So now what happened is, right, I'm letting my emotion go above my common sense and my intellect. Now what has happened? Now when your intellect has been dominated, now your emotion is under control. Your emotion is controlling you. When your emotion controls your life, you're lost, brother. My feeling. Oh, I'm sad today. Okay, I let my sadness control me. Oh, I'm happy today. I'm going to let my happiness control me. Oh, I'm I'm angry today. I'm going to let my anger control me. So basically, you're enslaved to a whole bunch of emotions. There's a lot of emotions you're a slave of. There's a lot of emotions out there. And if you're going to follow every single one of your emotions and make decisions based on emotions, that's not what a sane person does. That's not what a man does. Your emotions are subservient to your intellect. And it doesn't stop there. Your intellect is subservient to the Sharia. I'm saying law because when we say Sharia, the importance of Sharia hasn't entered our hearts yet. So I want to say the law. I will say the law. Because the law, that's something, we don't question that, right? That's something that we don't question. So I'll say the law. I'll use law as an example here. Isn't it? Isn't what sane people do? That's what gets you in jail. When your emotion becomes above your intellect. And then your emotion goes even beyond now the law. I don't care about the law. My emotion is more important. I want to have this. I like this car. I'm going to jack this car. I like it. My intellect tells me now my emotion is controlling, it's over my intellect, and it's now even overriding the law. Now I don't care. The law doesn't matter because, and the law doesn't matter and my intellect doesn't matter. Both of these have been overridden because now my emotion is controlling me. Do you see what craziness this will bring about in the world? And that's the anarchy that it brings about in our own personal lives as well. You're in all of these problems that you're in because of your emotion. Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki rahmatullahi alayhi, you know what he said? He said, you know what's the key to this path? Take your emotion, put it on top of the shelf and just forget about it. Oh my God, I'm mad. Oh my God, I'm sad. I mean, live life. You're mad, you're sad. Tell that to the people of Gaza. Tell that to the people of Palestine. You're mad, you're sad. Yeah, go on. Live on. I was seeing a video of a little boy. He says, yeah, I'm going to visit my mom's grave. I go to my mom's grave every day and I sit here. I'm sitting in her lap. I'm sitting her in her embrace. He says, don't you feel afraid at nighttime? He said, no, I'm sitting with my mom. I miss my mom. What do you want to do? He said, I'm going to become a doctor. For what are you going to become a doctor? It's because I want to take care of my mom. He said, but your mom passed away. He said, no, my mom is always with me. He doesn't allow emotion to control him, but it's a powerful thing that we see. Oh, I'm going to give up on life, on this and that. No. Yeah, she's gone. And there's a lot of emotion in that as well. He hasn't turned his emotion off. Right? You can't turn off your emotion either. But you don't allow it to control you. That's the point. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here is your deen is your promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not something that's related to your emotion. It's not something that it's related to your weekend, to your hobby. If I have time, if I feel good, if I'm, if everything is going my way, then, I'm going to do that. No, it has nothing to do with that. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَهَدْتُمْ. Fulfill the promise of Allah Ta'ala when you have made this promise. Fulfill the covenant of Allah when you made this and do not break your promise to Him. Allah Ta'ala calls your deen and your iman to be a promise you made to Allah. It's not just something which is your personal preference. Lakum deenukum waliya deen. If you feel like it, you do it. Oh, brother, that's your personal opinion. Religion for Muslims, our deen is not our personal opinion. It's not what we feel like. It's not what we just do on the weekends. It's not a Friday affair. It's not a Friday afternoon affair. Jummah namaz. That's not deen. Deen is awfu bi'ahdillahi idha ahadtum. This is the most powerful expression. The most powerful expression of what is deen I've read in this ayah. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَاهَدْتُمْ. It's so powerful. I never seen a more powerful expression. Deen kya hai? Iman kya hai? What is deen? What is iman? What is Islam? It is fulfill the promise of Allah that you made to Him. That you are my Lord. You are my creator. You are the giver of my life. You are the giver of every bounty in my life. And whatever I have, I will sacrifice for you. And your commandments are the fulfillment of your commandments is the purpose of my existence. And this is what I will live to fulfill. Not a hobby. As soon as we come out of this hobby mentality, that my religion is my hobby, my religion is my weekend, my religion is something that I check in a box when there's a list of things that's given to me, then when you come out of that, that means your religion is really something. It's not just like an identity that you check on an application. With that being said, we continue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the importance of this covenant. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, subhanallah, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. What is real life? A lot of people sacrifice their deen and sacrifice Islam and sacrifice their religion because they want the life. Right? They want the life. They want to, attain something, the dream, a particular, dream, a particular life. What is that life that is the dream life of a person? So, okay, everybody would have their own definition of what is the dream life. Right? This is the type of wife that I want. This is the type of house that I want. This is the type of husband that I want. This is the type of life that I want. This is the type of car that I want. This is the type of career that I want, right? This is like, everybody has their own, nice little cup of Starbucks with the sprinkles on top of it, exactly the way they want to cater it for themselves, right? Everybody has their own. But what did Allah say? What does Allah say is the perfect life? Subhanallah. Everybody has a vision, right? And it's not wrong. It's not wrong to have aspirations. It's not wrong to have aspirations. But when we see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be telling us is something that will be good for us here and there, in this life and in the hereafter. It's not something, again, what Allah tells us is not going to be based only on desires and emotions. A lot of the decisions we make and a lot of the aspirations we have is based on desire and emotion. Allah, whatever He tells us, is not based on desire and emotion. It's based on reality. It's based on reality. What is reality here? What is the best life? You have an image, you have an aspiration. Yag arzu, yag arman dari ne? Yag arzu, arman dara har kas. Everybody has their, aspiration. But what does Allah say? Let's see. Ayat number 97 of Surah Nahl. This is one of my favorite ayat. It's beautiful. مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. Anyone who lives a life of goodness and righteousness, أعمال صالحة, مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى, whether he be a man or a woman, وَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, and he is a believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. He's in a continuous concern of how can I have good deeds in my life. That I should live a life of righteous actions. I should live a life of righteous deeds. This is who I should be as a person. This is what I should aspire for. I want to be a person that's always doing good. I want to be a person who has salah in his life. I want to be a person who has fasting in his life. I want to be a person who has prayer in his life. I want to be a person who has charity in his life. I want to be a person who has knowledge and wisdom and goodness and joining of family ties and feeding the poor and spreading the peace and doing righteous actions. To be a good person, to be a righteous person. So this is number one on the list, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us in this world to do good. Every day you should be seeing, what is the good that I did today? Who did I help today? What good deeds did I do today? What righteous action did I do today? What charity did I give today? What relative did I visit today? What janazah did I perform today? What sick person did I visit today? What good prayer did I do today? What dhikr did I recite today? What dua did I learn today? What supplication did I make? What worship of Allah did I do? That if this day was my last day, that I present this day to Allah. Oh Allah, this is my day. I present my day to you. Here is my day. This is my last day on earth. How would you want that day to be? That's how you should live your life. The way you would want that day, that if you had that one day, this day should be dedicated. This is going to be your last day. How are you going to show this day to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You should do as many righteous deeds that you can. In prayer, and in dhikr, and in tilawat. Can a person do that? That doesn't mean you got to spend your entire day doing that. Subhanallah. Performing your Salatul Fajr with Jamaat in the morning. I've given everybody the morning routine. Those of you who come to my majlis, you know the morning routine. The morning routine is performing Salatul Fajr with Jamaat in the masjid. So performing Salatul Fajr with Jamaat in the masjid. And then after that, reading the morning du'as. Reading the morning du'as. And after reading those morning du'as, right, just till Salatul Ishraq, reading the du'as, reading your dhikrs, making a little bit of tilawat of Quran. And then after that, when the sun has, when it's sunrise, the sun has risen a little bit, pray 2 rakat salat, which you get the reward of 1 Hajj and Umrah. With this, you perform your Salatul Fajr, you have recited some Quran, you have made all the dhikrs for that day, you have made all your du'as for that day, and in 1 hour, you have done enough good deeds and righteous deeds that inshallah, if you go with those deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day, inshallah, that should be enough. That should be enough, inshallah, to enter you into paradise. Those of you, I'm not going to go into the details of it because we have it in our du'as book. We have the little du'a book that has all of the morning du'as that you should do. Every du'a is very powerful. One of the du'as that's in that book, look at what it says. The one who says this du'a 3 times. رَضِيتُ بِاللَّهِ رَبًّا وَبِالْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا وَبِمُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ نَبِيًّا 3 times in the morning, Allah will definitely make him pleased on the Day of Judgment. Allah will make him pleased on the Day of Judgment. And many other du'as. There's a lot of them. Each one of those dhikrs, if a person reads it, pondering on them, on their meanings. Because you commenced your day with the remembrance of Allah. You fulfilled the purpose for which Allah brought you in this world. And what is that? What's our purpose? Make a lot of money, get a 401k, and then the last 10 years of your life, then golf in Florida. This is their retirement plan. This is what it's for. This is what it's all about. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Just a portion of the day, even if it's a portion of the day, you dedicate it to some worship. But don't leave your days, day in and day out. We leave without the worship of Allah, without the remembrance of Allah, without the recitation of Quran, without any actions that are good. In this pursuit of this dream life. What dream life? If you get the dream life, what then? Those who have the dream life, where are they? Those who have a dream life, where are they? What have they achieved? They drown so much into their ignorance that they have a rape accusation against them. They have drug cases against them, DUIs against them, people accusing them of terrible things. Probably half of it they did, and half of it because people are mad at them, so they want to sue them for their money. Look at the way that these famous and these rich people live their lives. No ibadat, no Allah's remembrance. And when we look at them, we're thinking, wow, they're amazing. They're they are living the life, but they're not living the life. If you really know what their life is inside of their lives, really, they're living a life of hell on earth. They're living a life of discomfort on earth, a life of hell, a life of torture. Their money is not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Through their wealth, through their money, to all of these things that they have become heedless, they become punished in the life of this world with all of these things that they have. And we look at them and say, wow, I wish I had that life. And that's not life, this is life. مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. The one who lives a life of a'mal salihah, of righteous deeds. Because all the money of the world will never ever fulfill that emptiness that is in the heart. The only thing that can fill that emptiness inside the heart is righteous deeds. And that's why they say, and this is not even from a religious perspective, this is from a psychological perspective, they say that those people who give charity and they help others, they actually live longer and they're more happier. Why is that? It's because naturally human beings, the heart cannot be filled and the heart cannot be contented except with good things. Allah has created us for righteous actions. Allah has created us in this world to do good things. That is why you see these people that have all the money in the world, they're the poorest people because they have nothing else but money. They're poor because all they have is money. They don't have anything else. They don't have happiness. They don't have peace. They don't have contentment. They don't have peace of mind, contentment of heart. They're dead inside. And they keep doing it, but they never get what's the actual satisfaction. And what is the real satisfaction, right? What Allah created us for. That when you do what you're created for, that is when you feel satisfaction. When you are where you need to be. Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi alayhi, he used to say, he says that when I prostrate to Allah, he says, when I prostrate to Allah, I feel that I have attained, 200 kingdoms of all the kings in the world. Lek zawq sajde pesh khuda خوشتر آید از 200 ملکت تو را لیک ذوق سجده پیش خدا خوشتر آید از 200 ملکت تو را لیک ذوق سجده پیش خدا خوشتر آید از 200 ملکت تو را. The enjoyment of one sajda in front of Allah will be more sweeter to you than 200 kingdoms of the kings. لیک ذوق سجده پیش خدا خوشتر آید از 200 ملکت تو را. One sajda will be better than 200 kingdoms of the kings, because that's the only thing that will fulfill that emptiness of the heart. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, Man amila salihan, anyone who does righteous deeds. Min dhakarin aw untha, and this is not specific to men. This is not something that is for men and not for women, or for women and not for men. No, min dhakarin aw untha. This is for everyone. Man and woman has been created for this. This is what human existence is for, to do good in this world. That you should all ask yourself, in this time that Allah has put me on this earth, what good have I done? What good have I established? What righteousness did I do while I came to this earth? وَهُوَ مُؤْمِن. But remember, in the state of Iman. حَالَ كَوْنِهِ مُؤْمِنًا. In the state that you were a believer, not in any other state. It is only with Iman that every action has value on the Day of Judgment. Then what will happen? فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. Allah Ta'ala says, we will give him حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. Something tayyib, is that which is good, is that which is wholesome, is that which is righteous. Allah Ta'ala says, Hayatan Tayyiba. Hayatan Tayyiba actually means the life that is meant for a human being to live. Just like Ta'amut Tayyib. Right? Kasbut Tayyib. Ta'amut Tayyib. This is what is suitable to be consumed, is what is Tayyib. Tayyib means something wholesome, something pure, something good, something worthy. Opposite of Tayyib is khabith. Yani something not worthy, something you don't want, something you would throw away, something definitely you wouldn't eat, is something foul. So Allah Ta'ala says that life, which is a life of good deeds, a life of worship, a life of ibadah, this is the life that is worth living. It is hayatan tayyibah. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ. Allah Ta'ala says, with righteous actions, Allah will make your life wholesome. You know what wholesome means? You're whole. You don't feel inadequate. They say wholesome. Like when you eat wholesome food, you don't feel inadequate. You don't feel empty. When you have a wholesome life, you don't feel inadequate. You don't feel empty. You don't feel like you don't have purpose. So many people are suffering in the world today. So many people have psychological issues, emotional issues. And one of the reasons is they don't make a'mal salihah their objective. All these other things are the objective, and that's not what Allah created you for. Yes, we have to work. And yes, we have to go to school. And yes, we have to get married. And yes, we have to do all of those things that we need to do. But that's not our objective. And when you make those things your objective, it's kind of like, those things, maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Maybe you got a good job, maybe you're employed, maybe you're unemployed. But amal salihah is always in a person's life. You see, amal salihah is constant. Poverty and richness goes up and down. Happiness and sadness goes up and down. Victory and loss goes up and down. Health and sickness is up and down. Old age and young age, once you're young, another couple of years later, you're old. This is something that goes up and down. But there's one thing that can remain constant in a person's life, and that is righteousness. To strive to do good, to strive to do righteousness, to strive to always see, okay, what was the good deed that I did today? What was the righteous action that I did today? I tell you, brothers, and I'm not trying to talk about myself, but I'm giving you as an example. The day that I don't read my Quran is a day like as if I don't count that day that I lived life. I have my regimen. I have my daily regimen. I feel like the day that I didn't read my Quran, I feel like when I go to, I have to read it before I sleep. But if it happens, whatever, for whatever reason, I feel like that day I didn't live. I lost that day. You know, it's a win and it's a loss. It's a win, it's a loss. The day that I didn't, I have a regimen. Okay, my 5 pages of Quran I have to read daily. I'm busy. So I settled on 5. This is what I can do. My tasbihat, this is what I can do. That day that I miss it, I lost that day. That day was a big loss. Shaitan won. Shaitan won. I lost. It's a game. It's a chess game. He made me lose. That day I don't even count it that I lived. I will go to sleep making istighfar. Or I go to sleep, at least I try to, read Surah Mulk while I go to sleep, so that I sleep with recitation of Quran or some good deed. I do the 3 tasbihat, at least I have something. All of us should be this, that day that we didn't do our deeds, our righteous actions, our a'mal salihah, have a regimen. What is our relationship with the Quran? What is our relationship with Salah? And this thing that I'm talking about, Quran is something that is a virtue. It's not from our fara'id. Certain people, they are struggling with their prayers. A Muslim? Struggling with their prayers? Let me just tell you one thing in the fiqh kitabs, what it says about people who leave prayer out of laziness. Do you know what Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said? He says a person who left prayers out of laziness. Listen to what Imam Ahmad said. And there's differences of opinion. We're Hanafi, but I just want to let you know what some of the fuqaha, the seriousness, how these scholars viewed the abandonment of prayer. They say a person who left out prayers in his life out of laziness and carelessness. You know what Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said? He says, he will not be given a ghusl when he dies. When he dies, he will not be given ghusl. He'll be wrapped in a cloth and he will be buried. There's no janazah on him. Like a dead animal. You just wrap it in a cloth and you put it in the ground and you bury it. You understand? Meaning, there's no janazah. There's no ghusl. No honor. Right? And obviously, this is not from our opinion, but it's to show you the seriousness of this matter. Right? To show you the seriousness of the matter, how serious is this, that a person can abandon their prayer. And some people do it so nonchalantly. I don't feel like it. I'm not up to it. I don't want to. I have problems. So you think your problem is going to be solved by abandoning prayer? Prayer is your solution. Genius. This is the solution. Prayer is the key. Prayer is the opener to all locks. When the Prophet ﷺ was going through problems in his life, he would quickly run to prayer. What do? We leave the prayer. It's exactly what shaitan wants you to do. So a'mal salihah is the way to attain hayatan tayyibah. How will your life become wholesome? How will your life become enjoyable? How will your life become contented and peace of mind? It will become like that when you have a'mal salihah in your life, righteous deeds. That your purpose and objective is righteousness. And this is in the life of this world. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ, we will give him in this life a wholesome life. fulfilling life, enjoyable life. Allah didn't say you're going to get rich. Allah didn't say you're going to make a lot of money. Richness in money does not guarantee wholesome life. Richness in money does not guarantee contentment and peace of mind. But a'mal salihah does. Righteousness does. Good deeds, doing good things in this world does. And it is psychologically proven that people who live to do good deeds, righteous actions, it gives them something. Now atheists are just mind-boggled. These people are so happy. Their religion is giving them something. Their prayer is giving them something. They're jealous. They're saying, we wish we had this. We wish we would have what they have, the contentment that they have, the peace that they have, the discipline that they have. We wish we would have that. They see that and they wish and they want to have it. But it's the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't get it by rejecting. You don't get it by denying. You get it by submitting, surrendering. And that's what they don't like to do. This is the biggest problem. They don't want to surrender. Because surrendering means you have to give up your ego. Surrendering means you have to give up your desires. And they're not ready to do that. Okay, so continue in a state of bewilderment. Then continue in a state of loss and bewilderment and confusion and lack of purpose. And this is in the life of this world. Allah gives them a wholesome life. وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And in the next life, Allah will reward them equal to the best of that which they used to do. Equal to the best of that which they used to do. What does that mean, equal to the best? Meaning, you have done all of these righteous deeds. You have done all of these good deeds, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the highest grade. You know, that's they grade it to the curve, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at your highest, and He will then bring all of your other a'mal and reward you according to the highest of what you did. You know how a teacher grades to the curve, where there's like all these lower grades, but then, He'll bring it up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He rewards you بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Equal to the best of your deeds. Meaning, He'll bring it up to the percentage of the most righteous of what you did. Allah doesn't take like, okay, yes, there's certain actions that were done with a little bit less, this. He will boost those up to the level of the highest of what you used to do, and He will give you, basically, you're going to get the best deal. You're going to get the best deal from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not going to get the lowest. You're going to get the highest for your price. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues that the means of attaining protection, right, that Allah was talking about, fulfilling this promise. Allah ta'ala talks about fulfilling our ahad and our promise to Allah, right? How do we remain firm upon that promise? And how can we remain strong upon our covenant? Obviously through reciting of the Quran. The Quran is the means by which we get our fortification. It's where we get our inspiration. It's where a believer gets his motivation. This is where it is, right? So remember that when you are going to come to your motivation and your inspiration, Shaitan will come and try to take that away from you by any means he can. He's going to put doubt in you, because this is your vehicle. This is your means of attaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and attaining fortification. How do we stay firm on our deen? Right? You have to have a source by which you are motivated. A source by which you are inspired. Something that gives you inner strength. And for a believer, that inner strength comes from the Quran Kareem. It comes from Kitabullah. That's why this Quran, لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ, Allah Ta'ala says. Allah says in the Quran, لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الرُّسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. And all these stories that are mentioned in the Quran Kareem is so that we fortify your heart thereby. However, now when you're going to say, okay, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to try to fortify my heart, shaitan will come. Because he knows that this is your guide to Allah. This is your inspiration. When you come towards the Quran will become, subhanallah, there was a person I was listening to his interview. He was a US Marine that was deployed in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and also in Bosnia. And he had an extreme hatred for Muslims. So he said that when he came back to America, he plotted that he is going to make a bomb and put it inside an Islamic center. So one day, with this evil intent, before making the bomb, he just went to the masjid, to the Islamic center. I think this was in Texas. He went to the Islamic center to just go see and, kind of get more kind of enraged about these people. So while he was going inside, a sister, subhanallah, came to him, and he's going with so much hatred and so much rage and so much animosity, and he's met by this elderly sister who welcomes him as if, he's never been welcomed like that ever in his life before. He says, I was welcomed that day, and he says, it had such an impact upon me. It had such an impact upon me that I was embarrassed. That look at me with my evil intent. That she doesn't even know what's in my heart. I'm actually coming here to scope the area to see where am I going to put the bomb. And I'm met by these people that I hate them because they're so evil. I met with so much kindness. I was ashamed of myself. And she spoke to me for over an hour, and I was listening. And I was completely, so the long story, he said, I took a Quran. Listen to what Allah Ta'ala is saying here. Remember what I was saying is that the source of our motivation and the source of our inspiration is the Quran. He says, I just opened up to Surah Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. And he says, when I read that surah, I accepted Islam. Say, O disbelievers, right? Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. La a'budu ma ta'budun. I do not worship that which you worship. And you do not worship that which I worship. And I will never worship that which you worship. And you will never worship that which I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is mine. Very interesting that it was this surah that made him Muslim. Surah Kafirun made him from the Muslimun. Is this not a miracle of the Quran? Suratul Kafirun made him from the Muslimun. And he said, why? He said, because I was thinking that these people want to kill us to make us Muslims. And the surah says, for you is your religion and for me is mine. It gave him the cure immediately, because he's thinking, these people, all they want to do, they just want to kill all of us and make us convert to their religion. And when he opened the surah, what was the surah saying? I will never be your religion, and you will never be my religion. I don't believe in what you believe in, and you don't believe in what I believe in. For you is yours, and for me is mine. I said, what's the more open, clear proof than this? You live your way, I live my way. He said, this is proof that they're not out there to go and convert to Islam, or I'm going to cut your throat. That was it for me, and I accepted Islam right on the spot. Can you imagine this? Can you believe this? Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think the shaitan wants you to read this book now? He will not. I mean, this is I can send, whoever wants, I'll send you the clip where he mentions this. But this is the power of the Quran. When you hear the stories of how people entered into Islam, this is the power of the Quran. This is why Allah Ta'ala says, now in this ayah, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you recite the Quran, then seek refuge in Allah from shaitan the cursed. Why? Because just like this man was filled with the devil, filled with whisperings of the devil, filled with doubt, filled with hate. Who filled him? Who filled him? Shaitan filled him, isn't it? Shaitan didn't want him to go and get that Quran. What was the thing that broke the back of the devil? Was that kindness of that woman. The kindness of that woman. The welcoming of that woman. The salam and the peace that she conveyed to him. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ. Good and evil can never be equal. إِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. You should avert the evil with goodness. When someone does evil, like he was doing evil, he was coming for evil, but she averted his evil with good. How do you fight the darkness? Start punching in the air? You're in the dark, right? You're in a big dark room. So what do? Start punching? I'm gonna beat up the darkness. What do? How do you get the darkness gone? Just turn on the light. No more darkness. You don't kick and punch and karate chop the darkness. It ain't gonna go nowhere. You're just gonna look like a fool. The only way that this will go away is turn on the light. She just turned on the light. All of his darkness escaped. Half of it was gone. Ashamed. He says, I was ashamed of myself. I'm going to scope this place so I can hurt these people. I'm going to scope out this place so I can hurt these people. And this woman came to me and she floored me. She defeated me. She defeated me with her kindness and her love and her mercy. Half of it was gone. And she gave me a Quran. When I went, I opened straight to this surah. He said he opened way straight to Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. He said, I read it, and he says, immediately, that was the thing that made me a Muslim. Brothers and sisters, these aren't stories. This is reality. This is true. This is happening around us. And this is why Shaitan, look at what we were talking about, right? Fulfilling the promise to Allah and doing righteous deeds. But what does Shaitan fills you with all these doubts and all these, falsehood and hatred and anger and emotion, victimization. You're just filled up. It's all darkness. And how do you dispel the darkness? Turn on the light. What is the light? The Quran. Allah anzala nur. Allah Ta'ala calls this Quran nur. This is the light. The light will dispel the darkness. And this is why when you begin to read the Quran, what's the first thing that we do when we read the Quran? فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you recite the Quran, seek the refuge of Allah from the cursed shaitan, because shaitan is pure deviation and Quran is pure guidance. Shaitan is pure darkness and Quran is pure light. Shaitan is pure evil and Quran is pure goodness. Opposite. So when you're coming to the Quran, he's going to put doubt in you. He's going to make you say you're busy. Oh man, when I'm reading the Quran, I get so tired. I feel like sleeping. Shaitan. Make a cold wudu. Wash your face. Sit there. Recite the Quran. Once you become connected with this Quran, wallahi, there is nothing more enjoyable on this earth than this. There is nothing more fulfilling than this. There is nothing more inspirational than this. There's nothing more motivating than this. If this story was not enough, then there's not this story. Millions of stories like this. Millions. Very famous story, Malik ibn Dinar. He's a robber. Fudayl ibn Iyad. Fudayl ibn Iyad, robber. He said he was on the wall jumping into somebody's house to do, breaking and entering, to steal somebody. Some Qari Sahib was doing tahajjud prayer. And he was reciting Quran. Fudayl ibn Iyad. The neighbor was reciting the Quran and he's jumping into the backyard of a house to break in and steal. He's a robber. And he heard this Quran. ألم يأن للذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق. Is it not time for the believers that their hearts should become humble? Is it not time now for you? And while he's jumping the fence, this ayah hits his ear. Is it not time for you now to humble yourself to the word of Allah and to the dhikr of Allah and to the Quran and to the haqq? Is it not time? He screamed. He says, my time has come. My time has come. It's enough robbing, enough stealing. It penetrated his heart. My dear brothers and sisters, this Quran, this is something, this is not from this world. This is Kalamullah. From that, Fudayl ibn Iyad was in the 1st century. Like stories like that. Umar ibn al-Khattab went with his sword to go kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What changed him? Quran changed him. Quran transformed him. He had his sword. Oh, Umar, where are you going? Leave me. He's, wait, just tell me where you're going. Your sword is out. You're going to obviously go kill somebody. He said, I'm finishing Muhammad. That's it. I'm sick and tired of it. This is it. It's done. He's over with. He's causing too much problems. He says, wait, before you go and kill him, why don't you go fix your own sister and your brother-in-law? You know your sister? Yeah, she became Muslim. Go fix them. What? You're lying. He said, no, I'm telling the truth. Go and see. He went barging. He turned his way. He went barging, banging on the house, and he is hearing Quran from inside of the house. He's hearing Quran from inside the house. Open this door. Open this door. And the teacher went from behind the wall to hide, and he came in, and his sister Fatima bint Khattab, she was hiding what is this? Give it to me. He said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. Give it to me. And he slaps her, and he sees that, she hit her head and she's bleeding. He said, give this to me. I said, Wallahi, I will not give it to you. We are Muslim. You are filthy. Go and make ghusl, and then you can come and touch this. Allahu Akbar. When he saw his sister bleeding, and he came to his senses, like, what's the matter with me? Remember we were talking about emotions? His emotions and his rage started to control him. And when he saw his sister crying and what he's done, and he's like acting like a maniac, he says, I want to know, what is this you're reading? What is this that you're ready to die right now? You're ready to die right now. I was going to kill you. What is this that you people are reading, and you're ready to, surrender your life? So he went and he took a ghusl, and he came. When he opened it, Surah Taha. Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Quran litashqa illa tadhkiratan liman yakhsha tanzilan mimman khalaqa al-arda was-samawati al-ula ar-Rahmanu 'ala al-arshi istawa له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى وإن تجهر بالقول فإنه يعلم السر وأخفى الله لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى. When he read this, tears started flowing from his eyes, and he says, this is not the words of a person. This is not the words of a human being. Where is Muhammad? I want to go and accept Islam now. This is the way it is. This is the Quran. This is the power of the Quran. So this is why Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ. So when you are to read the Quran, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Say, أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ لَهُ سُلْطَانٌ عَلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Verily, he does not have any power over those who believe. He does not have any power over those who believe. وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And they put their trust in their Lord. My Lord is with me. As soon as you say, my Lord is with me, shaitan cannot do anything to you. As soon as you say, my Allah is with me, shaitan cannot do anything. Some people, they make shaitan, they make him very big. Actually, he's nothing. Right? When you say, my Allah is with me, shaitan can't do anything. All he does is waswasa. He's in the marketing business. Shaitan is advertising. That's all he can do. All he can do is advertise. All he can do is market it for you. That's it. That's all he does. He cannot do anything else. So do not be afraid of him. And when you put your trust in Allah and you say, my Allah is with me, shaitan can never ever have any power or authority over you. إِنَّمَا سُلْطَانُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَتَوَلَّوْنَهُ. Only he has power upon those who they give in to his whisperings. You believe in him. Don't believe in him. Don't believe in shaitan. Don't believe what shaitan is telling you. Sometimes he puts thoughts in your mind. He puts waswasa in your mind. Don't believe in him. Believe in Allah. Believe in Allah's promise. إِنَّمَا سُلْطَانُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَتَوَلَّوْنَهُ. His power is only upon those who believe in him, who take him as their protector and guardian and friend. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِهِ مُشْرِكُونَ. And those who ascribe partners. Those who ascribe partners to Allah with him. Yani, they do shirk by his order and by obedience to him. May Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand and implement what has been said. And may Allah give us tawfiq to connect with this Quran. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.